Sonic Collective. My name is Alan, and I'm coming at you from Calgary, Alberta. Joining me today, we've got Darren,
Howdy,
Scott,
howdy.
and other Scott.
Howdy.
Uh, for the month of February, we listened to Van Halen's album, Van Halen. And now we're going to talk about that. So, yeah, this was my pick for February. And I chose it because Van Halen is just a fantastic band, and they kind of created a sound that caught on quickly in Southern California. It was like surfer rock, almost like a surfer rock revitalization that mixed with other genres like heavy metal and even blues and things like that. So I wanted to take a look at where it all began back in 1978, I think it was. So I'm going to throw it over to our good friend in Thailand, Mr. Scott Coates, for his take on this album.
Well, it's great you picked me. I should confess at the beginning that I'm a huge Van Halen fan, and I've listened to this album hundreds of times before this review, but I really enjoyed coming back to it. Like the first, I guess I like all Van Halen, but the first six Van Halen to me are legendary. And going back to this album and listening to it start to finish, without stops many times was fantastic. I remember distinctly being a little kid, and my parents took me over to their friend's house one night, and their son, who seemed old, he was probably 12, had a few Van Halen albums, and he was like, "These guys are hardcore punk, man." And I remember looking at this album cover and seeing, like, just not being able to figure out what it was, or guys with long hair, and yeah, I mean, listening to it again, man, these guys like really nailed it. Like your first song, Running with the Devil, it really kind of sets up a nice feel. But then your second track, Eruption, I think we don't remember how wild that guitar sound is. I've heard a few podcasts where they've talked about Eruption and kind of how it just set the music world guitar players on fire. Like, what a statement. Your second tune, you're like, Eruption. So that's incredible. You really got me. I like their cover of it, but I really find it oddly interesting. I'd like to know why they did a cover on their first album, because usually bands wait till their third or fourth when they don't have good material to start putting out covers. But to choose to do a cover is really interesting. But then again, Van Halen did other covers on other later albums. So I think in a way they're kind of that kind of high school dance rock band in many ways. And they're a band that bands love to cover still. I love the range of tunes, and it's only a 36-minute album, and you guys probably get tired of me mentioning it, but it seems like that kind of like 35 to like 42 minutes is a sweet spot for albums. And in that time, like, man, you get like, from the opener there to then, Ice Cream Man towards the end, you get dark moments, you get fast upbeat moments. Little Dreamer kind of like brings you down a bit. Ice Cream Man, again, like you kind of like feel good poppy song. Feel Your Love Tonight, and then like On Fire, they kind of end it with like kind of a kick in the ass again, like, hey, yeah, we're a rock band, like, and to be continued. It almost sets you up for like Van Halen 2. And I love Michael Anthony's backing vocals. He's always, to me, like, he has such a high range, and when you really listen to him in the back, like, again, I love them. They're one of my favorite bands. I think this is one of the great debut albums, especially the 70s. So I love the whole thing. I don't think there's a dead weight song in here. Every one of them is great. Again, the only one that I like it, but I just wonder why, is like, why a cover song in there? And not that I don't like it, but it's so interesting. But I'd love to know how they planned the tracks, the order of them, because I think it really, really flows with great intention, and I love it. So who would you like to go next, Alan?
Um, let's pick Scott Gregory. But before that, I just want to answer your question because I think I know why they did a cover song, and that's because they basically took their live set as a just rock band who played at like the Whiskey Go Go or whatever. They took all of that content into the studio with them, so they just kind of like pulled from what they were already playing live in front of an audience, and that's what they recorded. So that's probably why there was at least one cover on there.
Yeah, I read this. I read the same actually, and I also heard like they literally didn't have any other songs. Like they needed a couple of covers, and the Ice Cream Man or whatever. So it's both. They just wanted to come off live, and that was the whole goal. And but then also they literally only knew 4 or 5 songs, and just they wrote a few for this and just got by. Like, oh, I got 36 minutes, guys, way to go!
Yes.
All right. Okay.
Well, I'm happy to go next because I think Scott just nailed it on a couple things. Uh, I was kind of in the same boat with him. I love Van Halen. I believe your exact count of albums takes us right to where Hagar takes over as far as
Yeah.
your bottom line on how much you enjoy Van Halen. I'll just come out and say it. I'm not a fan of Van Hagar. I like more David Lee Roth albums than I like Hagar songs. So I'll just put that on the table. I liked David Lee Roth's solo albums better than I liked Hagar. Like,
Interesting.
and nothing against him, but we're talking Van Halen is just salt of the earth, get her done rock band, right? Like quintessential. Get in there, talk about the beer and the broads and everything in between.
Ain't talking about love though.
Ain't talking about love.
What is he talking
My
about?
note for that is quintessential sexed up rock song. David Lee Roth at 10. Those are my notes on Ain't Talking About Love. But it hooked me in, right? Like I was a young guy when this came out, 3 years old. So I really didn't experience it until a little bit later. But it hooked me in, right? And as far as albums, let alone first albums, there's only a couple that have ever really hooked me in the way that this one has. Core by Stone Temple Pilots, the Blue Album by Weezer, Lungs by Florence and the Machine are the only 3 off the top that I can think of that just, and maybe Oasis. Oasis had a really kick-ass first album too. But just going in, not knowing anything about them, and then just being unable to put down the album, this is like way up there. It just sounded amazing. I too enjoyed Eruption. I just love good guitar work, right? Like I'm a hardcore guitar rock kind of guy, and this sparked me to go back and like I pulled up more Eddie, Angus Young, Steve Vai. I even went down a Buckethead rabbit hole this month because of it, and this is actually going to inspire my next pick as well too. Jamie's Crying, I really enjoyed the interplay between the bass and the guitar. I thought they had a little bit of fun there. It's easy for Eddie to just take over. And so for the rhythm section to come in and really play a more prominent role, that stood out for me on the album. And I was with you for Feel Your Love Tonight. The big call out for me were the backing vocals and how it just felt very rock bandy, right? Like I didn't know any other way to describe it other than I don't know why, but they just seem really sharp, right? As a band, their backing vocals sound good. I've listened to a bunch of concert videos and tapings for them as well too, and they sound good live. It doesn't sound overproduced or anything like that.
You listen to the videos? That sounds funny.
I do listen to the videos at work. Little Dreamer stood out for me because it was I call it a smokier range for David Lee Roth, right? Like he's usually really high in his register, but this is a slower song, and so he came down a little bit, and it was a good change of tone and pace on the vocals, and they had the background like ooh, it was really good, a solid song. I don't know why they covered 2 songs either. Like I went back and I listened to the original Ice Cream Man, and it was like super bluesy compared to what they did here. So I really like that they did a big change for it, and yeah. Other than that, On Fire, I called it a jaunty little tune with lots of shrill screaming and plucky bass. Good riff. That's how I did that one. So overall, yeah, I really loved it. It was a great ride. I'm glad you picked it. Yeah, rock on.
Yeah, Darren Scott.
Yeah, thanks. I guess I refer to some of the old guy here. So I do remember. I would have been young. I was quite, I guess, 9 when this came out. But I remember in Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island, where I was raised, there was an old home week and the exhibition, basically like the Calgary Stampede here. And I just remember like you'd walk in that midway, and that this is the album would just play over and over. And as soon as I hear this album, I'm just like go right back to that, from being a little kid and just remembering it. And it's just like, yeah, it was a lot of fun. And I always liked Van Halen. definitely, I would say Team Van Halen is, or Team David Lee Roth as well over Hagar, but I didn't mind some of the Hagar stuff as well. But yeah, this album, it was super fun, and yeah, I like that. Apparently, they originally had a different album cover, and it was. They didn't even have David Lee Roth in the front. Frick, it was Alex was in the front, and it was really weird. They were trying to, I guess, make them like the Clash, and I'm like, no, we hate it. And they just had a guy, and that was all shot at Whiskey A Go Go at a concert, like the cover. And I noticed too, and I think I'll post a video of it because funny, I should have brought the album in the room here with me. But you look at the album cover and you see it. It's just like they all have like these big phallic symbols. It's just like the guitars coming out like giant cock, and it's just like And then you go around, you can't really see Alex, but it's fine. Anthony, it's just like cock bass, and then David Lee Roth doesn't even he just got the microphone on his cock, and he's just like, yeah, cock rock, like. It's just fucking fun, man. It's like, it's just a classic album. Yeah, I did look up some funny factoids. I mean, about the band and stuff. But Eddie was a classically trained pianist, and a lot of people don't realize that. They cite him for his guitar, but he was actually, basic composer level on the piano. So he had a very solid background in music. So it's no doubt. And I agree with Scott when Eruption came out. That was just like a next level type of thing, and realize we were coming out of the Led Zeppelin kind of era where these big overproduced rock and anthems came out, and great, like not slighting that, but it was the end of it. That era was kind of fading. So to have a band like this come out and just have fun, and it's like you could picture they're on the stage. Nobody thought they would do anything, but I think it's like pop music in a way a little bit, but it just gave that nice approach for everybody into metal, I guess, as it were. They were called Mammoth before the name, and then they had to change it. I think it was something like somebody else had the band name, and it was David Lee Roth that actually came up and said, hey, your last name's cool. Why don't we use that? And they're like, no, it's stupid. Don't do it. So David Lee Roth had to talk them into it. So that's kind of where the name came from. Early on,
Mammoth X.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys saw this part or read this part, but apparently early on, because Gene Simmons helped discover them, he found them early and was like, these guys are awesome. Flew them to New York. They recorded a 3-song demo that he helped them shop around. Nothing really happened out of that right away, but he had to go on tour. He said, when we come back, I'll try and help you out. But Gene Simmons really helped Van Halen get recognized. But at that time, because of these weird interactions and this new band came out, it was rumored Van Halen was actually Kiss without their makeup.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't hear that.
And if you look at it, so go take a look at them and think, yeah, I could see that. Like, that could be Paul Stanley. That could be, right? Like, it was. But so there was this whole conspiracy.
Like 6 or something like that.
Oh yeah, I mean,
only with his boots.
Yeah, I think I read somewhere it was actually, I think it was Peter Criss, the drummer. He was like 5'0", and they're like, yeah, I know. Like, Alex Van Halen's like way taller. Like, yeah. So anyway, I thought that was a pretty neat little story. In general, I mean, loved it. Loved the tunes. I think it flows really well. Like, I agree with Scott. I think it, whoever designed it and put it together that way, it just they just knew, again, to come off live and come like a party, and just the whole thing like rocks. Even the songs that are a bit different are still fun, right? Like, yeah. So I think I really like that. I think Jamie's crying. I'm sure that's a sample for Funky Cold Medina.
Yeah, it is. It is. It is the sample from that.
Yeah, there we go. I was like, I know I've heard that before, and I don't know why I never put that together.
Oh, yeah, that was a famous one.
But, yeah. It cost $40,000 to make, and sold 10 million, so that's pretty good. Yeah. I'll finish up here. I think, what else did I see here? I always think it's cool when, I think we mentioned this about Rush recently. Van Halen was another band that just split the royalties. They were never worried about who wrote what, which is funny because the personalities eventually split the band, but I guess it wasn't really over royalties. One last fact, and I like this, and I think this is where these stories started, where I only want brown M&Ms in the dressing room. So apparently the story is Van Halen would do that because when they first started out, all the local promoters, it's just guys that own nightclubs and they or bigger clubs, and they would ask for these things to be ready and equipment wouldn't be there. So they were always just getting screwed. So they started to put that in the rider because they realized when they got to the event, if they didn't just have brown or no brown M&Ms, that they obviously didn't read the rider, so they knew it would suck, so they would go to him right away, like, "Hey, we know you didn't read any of this." So, yeah, so that's why I did. So they actually just did it. It was more just a test to see if actually where they were actually reading their rider and supplying their equipment and everything.
Great.
There you go. Anyway, yeah, I really loved it. So maybe let's hop back to Alan and into some scores, man.
Yeah. I agree with all of you guys as far as this feels like a really cohesive album, and it's not one of those ones that's a slog to get through from, track 1 to track X. It's just kind of a good, solid album the whole way through, and you're better off listening to it in order than having it on shuffle or whatever. I actually really liked the "You Really Got Me" cover. It reminds me of that old Nissan 300ZX commercial.
Yeah.
The Barbies or whatever. I remember as a kid I saw that commercial and I had no clue I didn't care about cars. They weren't on my radar, but I remember thinking it was a rad commercial. And then I ended up buying one of those cars later on and realized, oh yeah, that's that one. So it's fun. I think my favorite tracks are actually the covers, because Ice Cream Man kind of surprised me when the first time I listened through the album, and all of a sudden they've got this like bluesy sort of tune that doesn't really quite fit in with the rest of it, and yet somehow does. Like, it just caught me off guard. And I think David Lee Roth's vocals really shine through on most tracks, but especially that one. I think it was Feel Your Love Tonight. He even breaks down with like a little barbershop quartet sounding riff at one point.
Love Tonight, yeah.
It's pretty fun album to listen to. So I expected it to be a good album just based on the historicity of it or whatever, how much it influenced bands after the fact. But I didn't think I'd like it as much as I did. There wasn't really a single track that I found myself having to skip every time because it was just annoying. So let's maybe talk about the scores. I don't know, Scott Coates.
I'm embarrassed to say, is the top number 4 or 5?
5.
Yeah, I'm just giving it 5s all the way through, guys. I did say at the beginning I'm a big Van Halen fan. This album to me is like, again, there's not a bad track on here. You get a kick-ass start, kick-ass finish, some blues in the middle. You get a game-changing guitar solo. So yeah, 5 overall. Would I recommend it? Absolutely. Like, if you want to understand rock, and in many ways, like, I love that, like, Van Halen inspired bands like Foo Fighters or real rock bands, but also hair metal bands too, right? And all those bands love Van Halen. Influenced my taste. I'm going to give it a 5, but not right now, because I know them, but I remember once I started hearing Van Halen, I was like, whoa, who are these guys? What is this? And I definitely started listening to more Van Halen and other kind of 70s type rock. So for me, yeah, it's 5s all around.
Sweet. Scott Gregory?
Yeah, I'll give it all 5s too, right? Like, I was going down a dangerous road with my mom being in a country music radio station, so listening to country music myself. But then Van Halen pulled me off the brink. I know, right? I could have been achy breaking Harding in high school, and this leading into Stone Temple Pilots and a bunch of stuff in between in the '80s really took me away from that and kept my testicles in place. So
yeah, consider that a bullet dodged.
I know, right? So I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5 for influence. You have to listen to it if you want to understand rock. You guys already said, like that Brown sound. There was nothing like it beforehand, and I still don't think there's anything.
Is that the one where you poop your pants?
After it, that's right. I shit my pants every time I listen to this. It got very expensive this month on laundry, but yeah, like just the way he modded his guitars. He's one of those guys that it's him when you hear just the guitar, right?
Yeah.
And so you got to listen to him if you want to know anything about rock. And so
was it like a Telecaster with Stratocaster pickups or something like that?
I honestly can't remember. It was a while ago, but they had a whole thing where they were talking about, him taking like sanding stuff down on his guitars and stuff like that, and just completely altering the equipment itself. And then the way he played was completely different. So,
he constantly tinkered with his guitars. Yeah,
totally right. He's like Angus Young. There's some guys you just know the guitar when you hear it. So 5 across the board from me.
Damn, Darren.
Damn.
Yeah, I'm pretty close too. I'm 4.5 across the board. I think I'll just take a half point because I'm gonna try not to give out as many 5s. But really, this group, it's just an awesome album. It's pretty near perfect. I think. It's, I don't know. I should just 5.
Well, if you do 3 4.5, you're giving out just as many 5s. You're just putting a 4 in.
Have I told you there's legal vape pens now? I highly recommend the Top Leaf Florida Lemons.
Do we have a sponsor yet? Because you're just giving away free.
No, we should. I also found out that Bloom Cannabis, they only specialize in high THC. So anything you buy, will be high.
Should we put a legal disclaimer
anyway,
that
5's all around for me.
Legal in Canada and certain states.
Yeah, we are not condoning or promoting use of cannabis.
That's right. But I hear if you're 13, it works even better.
Whoa.
What?
I think
I'll cut that part. I don't want to go to jail.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, back to you, Alan. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've got to give it a solid 5 across the board, which is something that I pretty rarely do on these reviews. But this one took me by surprise, and I'm happy for it. Like Scott Coates was saying, just some of my favorite bands were influenced by Van Halen. So that whole influence factor, plus the fact that now I want to listen to Van Halen too. I just kind of want to listen to the full discography the whole way through in a chronological order. And yes, that includes the Sammy Hagar version. I don't mind a couple of those. I liked that one. That Why Can't This Be Love? That's a good song. It was on the Twister soundtrack. Come on. Anyway, 5s across the board for me. I think this is a really great album, and everyone should listen to it if you like rock and roll, and hard rock and hair metal and all of that stuff, because it really was a very influential album out the gates back in 1978, and it does not sound like it came from the 70s. If you listen to this, it does not sound like it's a record from the 70s at all. It holds up extremely well. Yeah. So everyone should check it out.
Word.
And Steel Panther.
Yes.
They go well together. It's a nice chaser.
Indeed.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think that's probably it for the Van Halen review. So who's up next?
Scott.
Is
Gregory,
I believe. Isn't it? That's right.
Scotty G.
I have the album picked. I just have to do the recording tomorrow night. I can give you a hint if you want.
we are into March, so yeah.
He only produced one studio album, which includes a Leonard Cohen cover, and then he died.
Aw, poor guy. Raffi.
So that's your clue. It is Raffi.
I fucking knew it.
Torres, actually.
Raffi Torres. He's a hockey player. That's weird.
I know, right? But little did you know he released an album before he died.
Yeah.
And came back as a hockey player.
All right, cool.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Cool.
Great pick.
Yeah.
Great pick. Super fun album.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
A++ would listen again.
Thanks to all the listeners out there. You can find us on thesoniccollective.com. We're also on Facebook, and you can find this podcast wherever you get your podcast materials. But you already know that because you're listening to it. So what do I know? Anyway,
Tell a friend.
Sonic Collective signing out until next time. Cheers.